Ever feel like your emotions are running the show? Welcome to the Power of Emotional Intelligence podcast. I am Marc Monteil, citizen of the world, founder of Intemotionnelle, and I'm here to help you build stronger connections, deepen self-awareness, and grow your resilience in today's ever-changing world. In each episode, we explore real-life insights, practical strategies, and inspiring stories to help you tap into the full potential of emotional intelligence. Whether you are aiming to excel at work, strengthen your relationships, or enrich your personal life, you are in the right place. Let's get started. And hey, don't forget to follow the channel, share it with friends, and give us a 5-star rating to help more people develop their emotional intelligence. Thank you for listening, and don't keep this journey to yourself.
Hello and welcome back to the Power of Emotional Intelligence. Today, we're going to be talking about something that can feel like a superpower. Self-regulation. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by emotions? Or struggled to resist that extra piece of cake? Or maybe you just couldn't focus on a task? Well, we've all been there. And self-regulation is all about managing those inner responses. And honestly, it impacts so much of our daily lives. So I'm really excited to have a true expert with us today in the fields of psychology and neuroscience to break this down for us.
It's a pleasure to be here. You know, self-regulation is often oversimplified. People think it's just about willpower, when it's really about any effort we make to shift our internal states or reactions. You know, our bodies are constantly self-regulating. Think temperature control.
Right.
But we also have this psychological self that steps in to make deliberate changes.
It's like our inner control panel.
Right.
Instead of just reacting, we're making choices, like resisting that dessert or taking a few deep breaths before a big meeting.
Exactly. And it covers so much more than people think, you know, thoughts, emotions, impulses, how we manage cravings, even task performance and attention, where we choose to focus our minds.
So it's not just about saying no to that extra helping. It's about consciously choosing where we direct our mental energy. It makes sense that self-regulation is tied to success in so many areas of life. Relationships, decision-making, even how we handle stress. But if it's this complex system, what are the core skills involved?
That's where it gets really interesting. Self-regulation is like a team effort. It relies on cognitive, emotional, and behavioral skills. Think of it as an orchestra, with different sections working together to make beautiful music.
Okay, I love that analogy. So we have things like controlling our attention, staying focused on a task even with distractions. We've got managing our emotions, keeping cool under pressure, not letting things spiral, resisting those impulses, those tempting shortcuts or instant gratification urges, and the ability to set goals and actually work towards them, not just dream about them.
Spot on. And weaving these skills together are feedback loops. We're constantly comparing our progress to where we want to be. Imagine you're working on a project and realize you're behind schedule. That triggers stress, which then motivates you to adjust your approach. Or maybe just put in some extra effort.
It's like we have an internal guidance system, making sure we're on course to reach our goals. You know, this feedback loop concept has been studied in depth. Researchers like Carver and Shire were pioneers in this area. They even suggested there are these 2 dimensions of effect tied to how we approach or avoid things, kind of like an emotional compass.
Right. And understanding these loops is empowering. You know, we're not just reacting to situations. We have a say in how we respond and what the outcome will be.
It's not about being emotionless. It's about having tools to navigate those ups and downs.
Okay.
Quick recap for our listeners. Self-regulation is broader than just willpower. It affects many areas of life. And key skills like attention control and goal setting all work together through these feedback loops. But why is this all so important? What's the big deal about self-regulation?
Well, it's a big deal because it's tied to a lot of positive outcomes in life. Think about people who excel at delaying gratification. You know what sets them apart.
Oh, like that marshmallow experiment.
Right.
Where kids who could resist eating 1 marshmallow got 2 later. And those who resisted supposedly had better outcomes as adults.
Exactly. They demonstrated a core aspect of self-regulation, prioritizing long-term goals over immediate gratification. That skill translates to success in many areas of life.
Makes total sense, whether it's sticking to a budget, going for higher education, or even building healthy habits. Resisting those quick fix temptations is key. Like having an inner compass guiding you towards what you really want, even when there are shiny distractions.
That's a great way to put it. And when you consider the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that handles planning, decision-making, and self-control, it's fascinating how it ties into delaying gratification.
It's like the prefrontal cortex is the CEO of our brains, helping us make those strategic choices that align with our long-term goals. The part that says, hey, That donut looks delicious now, but I know I'll feel better later if I stick to my plan.
Precisely. And the prefrontal cortex develops gradually, which explains why kids have a tougher time with self-control. Their inner CEO is still in training.
So maybe those marshmallow-resisting kids had a slightly more developed prefrontal cortex. That's a fascinating link between self-regulation and brain development.
But how does this play out in our everyday lives? Does it really affect things like our relationships or even our physical health?
Absolutely. Imagine two people in a heated argument. The person with strong self-regulation skills is more likely to take a breath, pause before reacting, and choose their words carefully. They might even try to understand the other person's perspective.
It's like they hit that pause button before things escalate. They give themselves space to cool down and respond in a way that's more likely to resolve the conflict rather than inflame it. Exactly. Whereas someone struggling with self-regulation might blurt out things they regret, escalating the conflict and potentially damaging the relationship.
So self-regulation acts like a buffer in our relationships, helping us navigate those inevitable disagreements in a healthier way. It's choosing to respond, not just react.
Yeah.
What about physical health? How does self-regulation come into play there?
Think about habits like overeating or smoking. They often stem from a lack of self-regulation. Someone who struggles to manage their impulses might find it incredibly difficult to resist those urges, even knowing they're harmful.
It's like there's this disconnect between knowing what's best and actually being able to act on that knowledge. Like their willpower muscle isn't strong enough to overcome those cravings.
That's a good analogy. And it's not just about resisting those tempting behaviors. It's also about engaging in healthy ones, even when motivation is low.
Like dragging yourself to the gym when you're tired, or cooking a healthy meal instead of ordering takeout when you're busy.
Exactly. Over time, these small acts of self-regulation really add up. They lead to big improvements in our physical health and overall well-being.
So, we're seeing self-regulation impact relationships, health, and even those long-term goals. It's like building a solid foundation for a fulfilling life. Let's be real, it's not always easy, is it? What are some of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to self-regulation?
You're right. It's a continuous process, not something you master overnight. And everyone faces challenges. It's not a switch you flip on and off.
It's important for our listeners to know it's completely normal to struggle, especially when we're stressed, tired, or facing strong temptations. We all have those moments where our self-control wavers.
Absolutely. One concept that explains this is ego depletion. The idea is that self-control draws on a limited resource. So if you use a lot of energy suppressing a thought, you might find it harder to control your emotions later on.
Like after a super stressful day at work, choosing a healthy meal might feel way harder. Those tempting snacks suddenly look a lot more appealing. Like our willpower muscle gets tired after a workout.
Precisely. Recognizing ego depletion is important. It helps us be kinder to ourselves and understand why we might struggle sometimes. It's not a personal failing, but rather a natural fluctuation in our resources.
Okay. So to recap, self-regulation is key for success in areas like relationships and health, but it can be challenging, especially when stress and fatigue deplete our willpower. But what can we do about it? What are some practical tools people can use to boost their self-regulation skills?
There are some really effective strategies people can incorporate into their daily lives to boost their self-regulation, almost like mental workouts for your willpower.
Okay, I'm ready to train those mental muscles. What we got?
First up is mindfulness. This involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment, simply noticing your emotions and thoughts without getting carried away by them. It creates space between you and your reactions, giving you more control.
And one great way to practice mindfulness is through a short guided meditation. Tons of apps and resources are available online. Even a few minutes a day can make a difference.
Next, we have goal setting. It seems simple, but breaking large goals into smaller, manageable steps makes them less overwhelming and increases your chances of success.
I love that. And a great framework for effective goal setting is using SMART goals that mean specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This helps ensure your goals are clear and actionable, setting you up for success.
Another important tool is environmental control, shaping your surroundings to support your goals. For example, if you're trying to eat healthier, remove those tempting snacks from your workspace.
It's all about identifying your triggers and proactively managing your environment to make healthy choices easier. It's different for everyone. You have to figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely. And finally, we have self-care, prioritizing activities that replenish your energy and emotional reserves. Things like getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, and engaging in hobbies you enjoy. It's not selfish. It's essential for maintaining the resources you need for effective self-regulation.
Think of self-care as recharging your willpower battery. Different things work for different people. Just like workout routines, experiment, and find what helps you feel your best and most capable of self-control.
That's a fantastic point. Self-regulation is a personal journey, and finding the tools and techniques that resonate with you is essential for success.
All right, so we have mindfulness to create space between us and our reactions, goal setting, to break down big ambitions into smaller steps, environmental control to manage those pesky triggers, and self-care to keep those willpower batteries charged. Now, before we move on, our listeners deserve a little fun break, don't you think?
Oh, you mean some fun facts about self-regulation? I have the thing, did you know that smiling even when you don't feel happy can actually lift your mood? It's like tricking your brain into feeling better.
Wow, so faking it till you make it actually has some scientific backing.
Yeah.
I love that. What else have you got?
Well, research has shown that simply believing in your ability to self-regulate can actually improve your self-control. A positive mindset really can make a difference.
So that can-do attitude can actually translate into better self-control. That's fascinating. And for a final fun fact.
This one highlights the power of social connections. Just thinking about a loved one can trigger goals you associate with them.
So our relationships can play a huge role in shaping our behavior even without us realizing it. That's amazing. The human brain is incredible. We've learned that smiling can trick our brains into feeling happier, believing in our self-regulation abilities actually improves them, and that our social connections can subconsciously influence our goals. Who knew self-regulation could be so much fun? Oh, back to business. We've explored the definition of self-regulation, why it's so important for our well-being and success, some of the challenges we all face, and some practical tools to strengthen our self-control. But let's dive a little deeper into this connection between self-regulation and emotional intelligence. These seem pretty intertwined, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Emotional intelligence is crucial for self-regulation. It goes beyond understanding and managing our own emotions. It's also about recognizing and responding to the emotions of others.
It's like having this emotional radar, picking up on those subtle cues in facial expressions, body language, tone of voice. And it's more than just recognizing those cues. It's about responding in a way that shows empathy and understanding.
Exactly. Emotionally intelligent people are skilled at stepping into other people's shoes, seeing things from their perspective, and responding in a way that validates their feelings and builds rapport.
It's like tuning into that emotional frequency, creating a connection that strengthens relationships and fosters harmony. But how do we actually develop emotional intelligence? Is it something we're born with, or can we cultivate it?
Great question. Luckily, emotional intelligence is not a fixed trait. It's a set of skills we can develop over time, and there are many paths to get there.
I love that it's not one size fits all. We can find what works for us and build it into our lives. What are some of those paths?
Well, mindfulness is key. We talked about how it helps us become aware of our own emotions, but it also makes us more sensitive to others' emotions by paying attention to those subtle cues in body language, facial expressions, and tone. We become more attuned to the emotional landscape.
It's like training our brains to be more perceptive of those signals, picking up on nuances we might have missed before. What else can we do?
Active listening is another important strategy. This means truly focusing on what the other person is saying, both verbally and non-verbally, and genuinely trying to understand their perspective.
So it's about putting aside our own thoughts and judgments to create space for them to feel heard and understood, not just waiting for our turn to talk, but truly listening.
Exactly. Active listening means paying attention not just to the words, but also to the emotions behind them. Notice their tone of voice, facial expressions, body language. Those subtle cues convey a lot about their emotional state.
It's like we're becoming emotional detectives, piecing together the clues to understand the full message, not just the words being spoken.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just passive observation. We need to respond in a way that shows empathy and validation.
So responding with phrases like, "It sounds like you're feeling really frustrated," or "I could see that this is really upsetting for you."
Precisely those validating statements communicate that we understand and care about their experience, creating a sense of safety and connection that strengthens relationships and fosters empathy.
It's like we're building a bridge of understanding, allowing for a deeper level of connection and communication. Are there any other key ingredients to developing emotional intelligence?
One more that's super important is regulating our own emotions when we manage our own feelings effectively. We're less likely to react impulsively or let our emotions cloud our judgment when interacting with others.
So it's about creating that inner stability that allows us to respond to others with composure and empathy, even in challenging situations. Like we're not letting our own emotional baggage hijack the interaction.
Exactly. When we're emotionally grounded, we can navigate those interpersonal challenges with grace and understanding. We can respond to others with compassion, even when they're expressing difficult emotions.
Okay, listeners, that was a lot of information. Quick recap to boost emotional intelligence. Try practicing mindfulness to be more aware of emotions, both yours and others, active listening, to really understand another's perspective, and regulating your own emotions for smoother interactions. All this plays into self-regulation in a big way. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about social influence. It's impossible to ignore how much our choices are influenced by what others are doing, thinking, or even just expecting of us. How does this social pressure tie into self-regulation? Is it always a bad thing?
That's a great point to bring up. Social influence is powerful, and it can work both for and against us. It can support our goals and healthy choices, but it can also tempt us with distractions or push us down paths we didn't intend to take.
Yeah.
Like those external forces are always at play, sometimes for the better, sometimes not so much. So how can we use social influence to our advantage when it comes to self-regulation? One of the most effective strategies is to surround ourselves with people who share our values and goals. We talked about how a supportive network of friends, family, or mentors can boost our self-efficacy and encourage healthy habits, but it's also about seeking out communities or groups that align with our aspirations.
It's about finding your tribe, those like-minded individuals who are all striving for similar things. Their collective energy can be incredibly motivating, making it easier to stay focused on your goals and resist those tempting distractions.
Exactly, and it's not just about finding positive influences, it's also about minimizing the negative ones.
So being mindful of the messages we're absorbing from the media advertising and even those casual conversations with friends or colleagues, really examining those messages that might be tempting us to make choices that don't align with our true desires.
Precisely. It's not about isolating yourself or avoiding social interaction altogether. It's about being selective with your exposure and cultivating critical thinking to evaluate those messages before you internalize them. It's about taking ownership of your choices and recognizing that you have the power to choose which influences you let shape your life. Which brings up another crucial aspect of self-regulation, that I think we need to discuss the role of our values. Have you ever noticed how much easier it is to make choices and stay on track when those choices reflect your deepest values? And conversely, when you're doing things that go against your values, it creates this internal conflict that can be super draining.
You've hit the nail on the head. Our values are like that inner compass guiding our decisions and actions. When we live in alignment with them, our choices feel right even when they're difficult. There's a sense of integrity and purpose that fuels motivation and makes it easier to resist those tempting distractions.
It's like we're tapping into this deeper source of energy, this inner drive that comes from knowing we're on the right path. And when our actions contradict our values, it creates this inner dissonance, this feeling of being out of alignment. It can be really draining, both emotionally and mentally. Exactly. It's like swimming upstream, constantly fighting against the current. So how can we identify our core values and ensure our choices reflect them in a way that supports our self-regulation?
That's a great question. How do we get that clarity and make sure we're living in alignment?
One powerful exercise is to spend some time reflecting on what's truly important to you. What principles guide your life? What do you want to be remembered for? What kind of impact do you want to make on the world?
It's like creating a personal mission statement, outlining our core beliefs and aspirations, a roadmap for living a more authentic and fulfilling life.
Exactly. And once you've identified those core values regularly, check in with yourself and ask, are my choices reflecting these values?
Like an internal audit, making sure our actions are in line with our deepest beliefs. And if there's a disconnect, it's a chance to course correct, make adjustments, and get back on track.
Precisely. And sometimes those adjustments involve tough choices, saying no to opportunities that seem tempting but ultimately don't align with our values.
It's about having the courage to walk away from paths that might lead us astray, even if they look appealing on the surface. It's choosing the path of integrity, even when it's less traveled.
You said it. And remember, living in alignment with our values is not about being perfect. We all make mistakes. But by checking in with ourselves regularly and making adjustments, we create a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and deeply aligned with who we are.
Okay, so to summarize, our values act as a powerful compass, guiding our choices and impacting our self-regulation. Living in alignment with them creates a sense of purpose and makes it easier to stay on track. And when we make choices that contradict those values, it creates inner conflict and drains our energy. But how can we avoid being swept away by all the external messages and pressures that try to dictate our desires and choices? It's like we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should want, how we should look, and what will make us happy.
You're absolutely right. We live in a world that's constantly trying to sell us something, whether it's a product, an image, or even a belief. And these messages can be incredibly persuasive, often working beneath the surface of our awareness.
It's almost like those messages are infiltrating our subconscious, subtly shaping our perceptions of what will bring us happiness and fulfillment. And sometimes those manufactured desires might align with our genuine needs and values, but often they lead us astray down a path that doesn't truly serve us.
Exactly. It's vital to develop that critical thinking muscle to question those messages and examine our motivations before we make a choice. Ask yourself, do I genuinely want this, or am I being swayed by external pressures?
It's like we need to become conscious consumers, not just of products and services, but also of information and ideas, taking back control of our desires and making sure they align with our personal values and aspirations.
That's the key. The discerning awareness is fundamental for effective self-regulation. When we're clear about what we truly want, it's much easier to resist those tempting distractions and make choices that genuinely support our goals and well-being.
It's about creating an inner filter to block out the noise and focus on what truly matters, which brings us to a critical concept in self-regulation: balance. We've talked about discipline, willpower, making those healthy choices. But is there a danger in becoming too rigid, too focused on control? Do we risk missing out on life's simple joys and spontaneity? How do we find that sweet spot between self-discipline and self-indulgence, create a life that's both fulfilling and sustainable?
That's such an important question. Finding that balance is crucial for long-term well-being. Self-regulation isn't about deprivation or turning into a robot that never veers from the plan. It's about creating a life that's enjoyable and aligned with our values.
It's like finding a rhythm that allows us to honor our commitments while also making space for joy, spontaneity, and genuine connection, not being afraid to have fun and embrace those moments.
Exactly. And that rhythm's different for everyone. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to balance. It's about listening to our bodies, honoring our needs, and making choices that feel right for us in each moment.
It's like we're the conductors of our own lives, orchestrating a symphony of experiences that blend discipline with delight, effort, with ease.
Beautifully put. And remember, balance isn't a fixed destination. It's an ongoing process of adjustment, fine-tuning our choices as we learn and grow. There will be times when we lean more towards discipline, other times when we allow ourselves a bit more indulgence.
It's about embracing that ebb and flow, trusting ourselves to make adjustments as we go, and most importantly, being kind to ourselves throughout the process.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is essential for finding that balance when we approach slip-ups with understanding and forgiveness. It's easier to get back on track without getting trapped in that cycle of guilt and self-criticism.
We're creating that safe space for ourselves to experiment, to learn, to grow, knowing that we don't need to be perfect to deserve love and acceptance.
Exactly. And always remember, self-regulation is a journey, not a destination. It's an ongoing process of discovering what works best for us, fine-tuning our strategies as we navigate life's ups and downs. And the more we practice, the more we hone those skills for creating a life that feels fulfilling and sustainable, a life that honors both our aspirations and our human imperfections.
What a fantastic way to sum things up. We've covered a lot today. Self-regulation is this incredible skill set that includes willpower, discipline, emotional intelligence, social awareness, and aligning our actions with our values. We explored tons of strategies: mindfulness, goal setting, cognitive reappraisal, if-then planning, and that crucial element of self-compassion. It's not about deprivation or striving for perfection. It's about creating a life that feels good, both fulfilling and sustainable, embracing our aspirations and our perfectly imperfect selves. So to wrap up, a simple but powerful reminder: self-regulation is a journey, not a destination. There will be wins and stumbles along the way. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep believing in your ability to grow. You have the power within you to create a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Embrace that power and never stop striving to become the best version of yourself. Thanks for joining us on the Power of Emotional Intelligence. Until next time, take care and keep those self-regulation muscles strong.